Sorry, I put the microphone away. Good evening and welcome to today's broadcast, Tuesday, 17th June 2025. It's a wonderful day that the Lord has made, and we shall rejoice in it. We have a couple of things to do, the usual daily updates, and we'll start with some preliminary issues. I'm very saddened to learn of the demise of Mr. Willie Obi Mubanga. He was a classmate to President Edgar Lungu. Is a long-time member of the law fraternity, and is a backroom operator who helped the Patriotic Front a lot. I remember in 2015, those night, crisis meetings with KBF. Mr. Willie Obi Mwamba, State Council, was always there. Is a legal luminary, and may his soul rest in eternal peace. He used to work for Messrs. Chilupe and Permanent Chambers, where he was a partner. And also, you should remember that he's been with Michael Mundashi. They were very instrumental in the Bemba Royal establishment, where they would organize Ukusefia Pangwena and all Bemba traditional activities and royal issues. So our deep condolences to the Law Association of Zambia, to the family of Mr. Willie Obi Mwamba, State Council, and to the Bemba Royal Establishment and all his colleague Michael Mundash. We lost him, I think, last year. Today we are discussing an update on the Zambia's 6th president, Dr. Edgar Chagwa Lungu, his repatriation of the remains, and the funeral program that's expected to start in Zambia tomorrow with military honors. But first of all, let's dispense with the issues. June, I bemoaned the other day on my podcast that June appears to be very bad for our heads of states. We lost President Edgar Lungu on 5th June. We lost Dr. Kenneth David Kaunda on 17th June. We lost Dr. Frederick Chiluba on 18th June. So today was a day we lost Dr. Kaunda. I don't know if Lusaka held a memorial for him, because I know cabinet, some of these rules we have set up for ourselves that are just in mere circulars until we craft a new law. So among the regulations we have is that cabinet will only pay for the family, will only pay for the funeral services of the first, 5th year. These are memorials: 1st memorial anniversary, 5th memorial anniversary, 10th, then it goes 15th, 20th, just like that. They will not pay for every year's service. However, the family are at liberty to organize a memorial of their own and go and lay rates, or even hold a church service, depending on the extensive preparations by their committees. But the state cabinet office will only come in for the 1st memorial, 5th memorial, 10th memorial, 15th, 20th, like that. They let the others be done by the family. So I don't know if Dr. Kaunda's family held anything today. I haven't seen anything in the media, and it's in the morning here. I have to find time to scan the media. Tomorrow, I'm aware that the family of the late President Frederick Chiluba, have organized something. There's a memorial tomorrow for President Frederick Jacob Titus Chiluba. This will be the 14th memorial. Remember, he died in 2011. So there will be an event at Embassy Park to remember Dr. Frederick Jacob Titus Chiluba. And it's themed FJT, the Fearless Democrat. I used to argue with the media because the Post newspapers at the time and popularized his names as FTJ. Huh? That's what you probably know him as, FTJ. And when I began to work with him as his official spokesperson, because I also used to call him on the, when I'm doing initials as FTJ, he says, no, I am FJT. Because Jacob and Titus is one name separated by a hyphen. So that's one name, Jacob Titus. So he can't be FTJ. He is FJT Chiluba. I even remember one time that I did a notice on his behalf that kindly to the media, he is FJT Chiluba. But the media still are used to FTJ. I think that's what is a popular theme. Someone even said, but it's like KBF. KBF is Kelvin Fube, but the initials are the other way. They are KBF. They are not Kelvin Waria Fube. It's KBF, but his names are Kelvin Fube as a middle name than Waria. But for FTJ, the official name, the official title is FJT, because Jacob and Titus is one name. You find it amongst Nordic countries and Afrikaans. They love the names like that, Jacob dash Titus. Remember, WK Mtalena Lumango had to insist that before you say my name, begin with my initial. Like FW de Klerk. So she also had to announce in Parliament that our names are WK Mtalena Lumango. And our duty is just to conform. So as we remember Dr. Frederick Jacob Titus Chiluba tomorrow, just remember he's not FTJ, as you famously call him, is FJT. So Dr. Chiluba will be remembered tomorrow. There is a matter that we have to start with that has distressed me. Our colleague from Chipata, from Eastern Province, he has a farm in Vubwi. They raided his farm, Is Benjamin Chala Chilufia. He's very well known MMD member, very senior member. He worked very closely with the late President Rupia Banda. But also Mr. Sata poached him from the MMD. He's been harassed several times, but there's an incident that occurred of great concern. 3 vehicles, 12 men came, policemen, refused to identify themselves. They refused to produce their ID card. He was not at the premises at his farm in Vubwi. They raided his farm and even took the money they found, 1.6 million kwacha. His lawyers have written to the Inspector General of Police, to the Eastern Province Commander, and they are demanding, first of all, this illegal raid. Was it an abduction? And why would they get away his money? He's a tobacco farmer. Tobacco farmers have just, done with their harvest, and they've been selling. And tobacco has been selling at a good price. So why would the police steal 1.6 million? This misconduct of the Zambia police must come to an end. They have a habit, they think they are above the law. So Benjamin Chala was raided, he was not there, they traumatized his children, and the police officers stole 1.6 million kwacha. His lawyers have written to the Eastern Province Command and to the Attorney General to alert them of this illegal raid that was done at his farm. He wasn't himself present, and the police, the Zambia police officers who came, have gotten away with 1.6 million kwacha. It's these things that this Inspector General of Police, Graffio Musamba, must regularly deal with. I don't know if maybe first we start with the update, which is the focus of this program, before we discuss the second topic, which is the United Nations Human Rights Council. It's sitting tomorrow on Wednesday, and Zambia's report, remember we had this UN Special Rapporteur for Freedom of Expression who was in the country, and she did issue a preliminary report, and now she's issued a full report, and we were given an advance copy, both government and stakeholders like ourselves. I'm one of the official complainant to the UN Special Rapporteur. Remember, I was abducted from a car wash. They knocked out my tooth. They nearly broke my neck. They bruised me everywhere. I was incognito for 24 hours. My family, my lawyers didn't know where I was. And the injuries up to now. Remember, I broke I hit my shoulder when playing pickleball recently. And the doctor said it's a recurrent injury. Then I remembered that the torture and abuse mostly was the injury I had other than my neck was the same shoulder. And the doctor, when seeing me, said, your injury is recurrent. I said, what do you mean recurrent? He said, no. It's a recurrent from whatever happened before. Then I remembered it's the same shoulder. And I hope I don't have to do surgery one day. I thought it was just something bruises and it will go away. But here I am, still in pain 2 years later. So the UN Special Rapporteur will be tabling a report tomorrow to the United Nations Human Rights Council. It's a 47-member organization. It's sitting tomorrow. So we'll discuss that, but let's start with the update. The Secretary to Cabinet has issued a notice that the late president's remains will arrive tomorrow at 14 hours. And they've put some restrictions. They said there'll be a full parade, military honors upon his arrival. And therefore, entrance to people receiving him will be restricted and strictly by invitation. I hope the invitations will not be discriminatory. I hope that they'll give, for example, stakeholders, members and civil society groupings will be allowed, all those that wish to go. Because, when they say strictly by invitation, it's already exclusive. So I hope that invitation will be broad. The family has also confirmed that the late president's remains will be arriving tomorrow at 14 hours Zambian time. Aboard the special aircraft that has been chartered will be the former First Lady, who's a widow, former First Lady Mama Edgar Chagwa Lungu, the family, all the children that are in South Africa, those accompanying the family, such as the family spokesperson, Honorable Makebi Zulu, Mr. Richard Musukwa, all of them are coming on that special aircraft that is arriving tomorrow. There's another matter. This Chitambala Mwewa, the son to the former Lusaka mayor, Mr. Simon Mwewa, very respected man, very honorable man. But his son, is involved in every controversy. He comments about everything. Sometimes, remember the 3 children that died last month, how insensitive he was. He kept on calling for the arrest of the parents, saying they were careless, while everyone was in such traumatic, viewed it as a traumatic experience for a family to lose 3 children at once. Mwewa didn't even wait for people to mourn. He was calling for their arrest and calling it negligent and accusing the mother. Totally insensitive. Dignitaries, government officials, diplomats were going to grieve with this family that was bereaved in such sad circumstances. Mwewa was mocking them the entire time. And that's not the first time he has done that during a sensitive period. He has been at it from day one. He's been mocking the late President Edgar Lungu and his family, mocking Tasila, calling Tasila Mwansa's husband's names, doubting their masculinity. He's been totally insensitive, something un-African. And, Mwewa Chitambala, the mother, is a very respected woman. Ibana Chimbosa. She teaches human and Bemba values and African values. And I don't know why, I know we are our own people. But for me, when people close to me speak to me about, they would say, Bashijunya, Padia, Awalekeni. President, don't be personal, just discuss politics. Many people know you to discuss issues and personal. You don't say how big someone's nose or forehead is. You are not like that. So I think that comment was, you're not like others. You ought to listen, especially to close family members and those that care about you when they advise you. I'll advise people that are close to Mr. Simon Mwewa. Please tone down during this period. This is not a time to insult Honorable Tasila Lungu and her husband. This is not the time to insult Mama Esther. And this is not the time to insult the memory of the late president. Just the last 2 days, he has issued two unfair broadcasts. Yesterday, he came and said, you know, he usually broadcast in the morning, lunch hour. For us that are on social media, he broadcasts by lunch hour. Morning when he arrives, he will do some vlogging, lunch hour. And before he leaves the office at 16 hours. But yesterday, he came back in the night. He specifically to come and address his audience and allege that he has been told, I don't know if it's State House propaganda, because he fraternizes with State House, and his State House chief blogger is always on the planes with the president. So we have no choice but to associate him with the current president, President Hakainde Hichilema, because he's his chief vlogger. And usually journalists might not even have access to him, but you've seen Mwewa Chitambala, he will meander his way and confront the president. And the president is always gracious to stop and speak to Mwewa's microphone. And he abuses that position. So yesterday he comes and says he has information that the remains of the late president will be repatriated by Vauden Findlay, you know, the Lusaka businessman who also had, who's been a friend of many presidents. He was a friend to Mwanawasa. He was a friend to Frederick Chiluba, to Christon Tembo. He was a friend to President Rupia Banda. He was a friend to Edgar Lungu. They are just those senior men in our country that hold those special places. And Vauden, whatever your views is, he's been like that. He's always been a good friend of nearly all the presidents. And he says, no, it's Vauden's plane that they are using. And you know the insinuations he's trying to make. He's trying to make it a corrupt process. I don't know what he's intending to. So the family this morning informed me that they were considering suing him for such a lie. They'll be gracious to use Vauden's plane if it were available or if he offered it. They'll be glad to use it. But that's just not true. The plane that's being used from when the late president died, the plane has been on standby. Just like the Zambia Air Force plane that President Hakainde Hichilema sent has been on standby. It's not it's not Mr. Vauden Findlay's plane that they were going to use. But Simon Mwewa, as usual, in trying to elicit scandal where there is none, he goes on to, speak about this. He did another broadcast this morning, and again he affirmed it. Abantu bakwalesa lekeni abantu balelosha Mwewa, balelosha. That's why I bothered to define who your parents were. They are people we love and respect. Sometimes for the sake of the name of our parents, we ought to, just uphold, not just you, because whoever you, if my son misbehaves, I know he's his own man, but people will attribute it to me. So Bamua, please, tools down. We can begin the insults next week. You can begin your insults. People have gotten used to that next week. But allow during this process. You don't want the family to be responding to you. So they are considering a legal action against Mr. Mwewa. If the police were active, this is a clear case of cyber crimes if we were to use their cyber crimes and cyber abuse, it's a clear case of that, but we know that the police will not act. We know that the police will not act. We know that the police will not act, So a program has been issued by Cabinet Office on the arrivals. Let me just go through the program. So the program for the military honors ceremony, and on the occasion of the arrival of the body of His Excellency Dr. Edgar Chagwa Lungu, 6th President of the Republic of Zambia, at Kenneth Kaunda International Airport on Wednesday, 18th June 2025 at 14 hours. So It will be a program for military honors ceremony on the occasion of the arrival of the mortal remains of His Excellency Dr. Edgar Chagwa Lungu, 6th President of the Republic of Zambia, at Kenneth Kaunda International Airport. On Wednesday, 18th June, 13 hours, dignitaries, whoever has been invited and they have a card, you have to arrive early at 13 hours. At 13:20, the guest of honor will take the position at Kenneth Kaunda International Airport, Presidential Pavilion. So this is very clear. The head of state will be there. President Hakainde Hichilema will take his position at the Presidential Pavilion. I think it is the president, but guest of honor hasn't been named, will position at the Kenneth Kaunda International Airport, Presidential Pavilion. Oh, the Presidential Pavilion, where the other, not the main airport, not to interfere with planes arriving during that period. There's the other one, Presidential Pavilion. Sorry, I just must clarify that. You have the main airport terminal, then you have the Presidential Pavilion. You know where the VIP is? This is where the ceremony, I think, will take place. Then arrival of spouses to the former ministers. At 13:40, arrivals of members of the Patriotic Front and close family members of His Excellency Dr. Edgar Chagwa Lungu, 6th President of the Republic of Zambia. The Patriotic Front have been honored. Probably they've issued some cards for our PF officials. You have to get in touch with Cabinet Office by tomorrow morning and see how many cards you have so that this process is honorable. Arrival of service chiefs at 13:45. 13:50. Arrival of His Excellency the President, or he doesn't call himself His Excellency, sorry. Arrival of Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, President of the Republic of Zambia, at Kenneth Kaunda International Airport. There are two presidents that do want their names preceded by His Excellency. Dr. Frederick Chiluba just said, call me Mr. President. He didn't want His Excellency. But the rest of the presidents we've addressed him as His Excellency. But you remember that President Hakainde Hichilema also sometime last year announced that you only don't say His Excellency, just say Mr. President, or you name him. So arrival of Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, President of the Republic of Zambia, at Kenneth Kaunda Airport, Presidential Pavilion. Then there'll be presidential salute, national anthem, and the beginning of the program. So the special aircraft arrives at 14 hours, carrying His Excellency, the body of His Excellency Dr. Edgar Chagwa Lungu, 6th President of the Republic of Zambia. At 14:10, the carrying party, firing party, and pallbearers, they will march to the foot of the special aircraft. At 14:30, the body of at 14:20, the body of Dr. Edgar Chagwa Lungu will be removed from the special aircraft and put on the gun carriage. At 14:30, the body of His Excellency Dr. Edgar Chagwa Lungu, 6th President of the Republic of Zambia, will be taken to a designated place for a short church service. So the body of His Excellency Dr. Edgar Chagwa Lungu, 6th President of the Republic of Zambia, will now receive a presidential salute, and then it will depart to the residence of the 6th President of the Republic of Zambia, plot number 56660, Chifwema Road, New Kasama, Lusaka South. At 14:50, President Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, President of the Republic of Zambia, will proceed to the saluting dais and also receive the presidential salute. 15 hours, departure of Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, President of the Republic of Zambia, at Kenneth Kaunda International Airport. Then 15:10, departure of dignitaries. There you are. The head of state who is presiding over this funeral, President Hakainde Hichilema, will personally receive the remains of Zambia's 6th President Edgar Chagwa Lungu. And from the official program you have seen, I think the arrangement as planned, the arrangements by the state with the input from the family is actioned out, I think, without any issue. You can't blame anyone there. The program looks good for me. The head of state will receive it. Remember, it was one of the compromise that the head of state will preside over the funeral program, and there he will be receiving the remains of the late president. You'll be able to participate in this debate. Let me just discuss our last item, which is the issue of the Human Rights Council, which will be tabled tomorrow. Or someone says you haven't finished on Simon Mwewa. Yes, the issue is on Simon Mwewa. I was saying that the family have requested, they announced that they'll probably take a legal suit against him. And I was saying if the Zambia police will follow their own law, no one needs to complain. They can pick Mwewa for that cyber bullying that is doing and hate speech that is projecting against the late president. He's abusing and telling lies against him that the aircraft will carry, that the aircraft is Vauden Findlay's aircraft. And we have no problem with Vauden Findlay, but it's just not true. And even after being reminded, Simon Mwewa continues to do this. And who's Simon Mwewa? Many people will like to forget, when these people posture themselves as MMD, that they love President Hakainde Hichilema more than even President Hakainde Hichilema is loved by his own people that have been loyal for him for the last 23 years. And Simon Mwewa has never been UPND, never. He was actually, he wanted to stand under PF as a councillor. I don't know whether he wanted to catapult to becoming Lusaka mayor like his father. But he had spoken to a lot of people in PF where he wanted to stand in Kanyama, Simoson area to take care of the business interest where the building of his parents, is. So when I come back, there is Simon Mwewa in the 2021 elections.
The moment.
We have seen them when they go to the UPND. They even held the biggest insults against the Patriotic Front. I think maybe it's a psychological defense. Like the bigger the insults, the more they appear to be loyal to President Hakainde Hichilema. I don't know what it is, but some of the biggest insults come from our own members that were with us up to the last minute. And you can't say he was just doing business. I know he wasn't doing business. If he had intention even to stand as a councillor, he wasn't doing business. Back to serious matters. I'll be discussing shortly the Human Rights Council report that is being tabled tomorrow. Then I'll invite you for comments. As we've heard from the program update, the head of state, President Hakainde Hichilema, will personally receive, in his official capacity as President of the Republic of Zambia, he will receive the remains of the late president tomorrow at 14 hours when the special aircraft carrying the mortal remains of the late president, accompanied by the family, arrive tomorrow at 14 hours. They'll start off from Lanseria Airport in Midrand. For you that have been in South Africa, usually private planes. They've let commercial planes to the main international airport, Oliver Reginald Tambo International Airport, ORT as we call it, or OCHA as the others call it, to commercial flights. So if you are booking chartered flights, they've utilized Lanseria Airport. It's in Midrand between Pretoria and Johannesburg. There's that airport there, which is used. If you was using a military aircraft from South Africa, I would use Waterkloof. We've used Waterkloof before. For example, if President of the Republic of Zambia is coming to Pretoria, he would usually land at Waterkloof, which is in Pretoria, which is a military airport. But they will use Lanseria Airport. I haven't gotten the details whether the South African government will offer honors to President Edgar Lungu, but I think there was an indication to that extent. We just watch out for our media. If there is anything like that, it will be broadcast live. It will be broadcast live from Lanseria, and then the body will arrive on at 14 hours in Lusaka at Kenneth Kaunda International Airport. And what will be used is a presidential pavilion, not the main terminal. Presidential pavilion is like 1.5 kilometers away. I think it was purposefully built. It was properly designed that in case you are hosting a big meeting like African Union meeting, your aircrafts can arrive and disembark and all the ceremonies can be done. In the past, we would close the entire airport during the entire session. If it's 4 hours, 6 hours, and commercial flights will be disturbed. But now the two can land side by side, and the state protocols and honors then is done from the presidential pavilion. Bishop Joshua Banda, long-time bishop from North Mid Assemblies of God, is currently the president of the Pentecostal Assemblies of God in Zambia. He's also, I think, he's also president of Pentecostals in Southern Africa and Africa. He holds such a senior position now. But he was instrumental in brokering the peace that we saw between the state and the family. He's one personality who's non-controversial, who both parties willingly helped, quickly accepted without any conflict, both the state and the family, and he helped broker that peace we saw. Let me just see his brief tribute to President Edgar Lungu before, we get lost in the debate coming up ahead.
Many times, whenever we gathered for prayer, he would have his clasped hands like this, either at State House or wherever else. So he loved the aspect of the praying hands, and he constantly would mention the fact that he desired prayer for himself, for his family, and for the nation. The praying hands referred to the consistency in intercession for the prayer of the nation, prayer for the nation. And prayer for believers is the thing that enables us to enact God's will. And let me use this opportunity as we have this tribute to be able to call upon Zambia that during this period as we celebrate this life, let's use this time also to pray. Because in prayer, we listen to God, we hear what God has to say to us, and we gain instruction. When we are mourning at a time like now, with our emotions high, there's a way in which this thing overwhelms us. But when we kneel down to prayer, we surrender our emotions and our desires to God, and God has a way of speaking to us. And our conversations with the former president were really around how prayer would be an investment to change a life. I remember we reflected on 2015 and how at that time the economy was webbing down, and Bloomberg covered the event on the 18th of October. And their report on that event was the fact that Zambia was wasting time praying. They ought to have been in some room somewhere planning, because their economy was in shambles. I give credit to Bloomberg because a few years later, when it had been reported that year that the kwacha, to the surprise of everybody, became one of the best performing currencies that year, and that we of course ended up we were anticipating not so good rainfall. We ended up with a good rainfall, a good harvest the following year. They reported that turnaround. And I remember that somebody from one of their media houses came and interviewed me right here at the church. And I give them credit for the fact that even though they looked down upon the power of prayer, now they were able to say there was a visible result. So Zambia, let's remember to pray, even as we mourn and celebrate this life.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Bishop K. Banda. There's an incident he's talking about there. Probably people might, but I remember it very, very well. When we had the worst drought in 30 years, the 2014-2015, is it 2015-2016 season, it was one of the worst drought in 30 years. Remember, the El Nino cycle comes every 10 years. That is why even the drought for 2023-2024 was already predicted. So the El Nino in 2015 2015, was one of the worst drought in a period of 30 years. And President Edgar Lungu resorted to prayer. He declared the day of national, remember the day of national prayer, repentance, fasting, and reconciliation. And at that period, when he addressed that particular matter, he prayed to God for God to give us rain despite this drought, which was the worst in 30 years. Remember, it was accompanied by some of the worst load shedding periods again, but not as difficult as the ones we are currently facing. And what Dr. Banda is speaking to there is that Zambia had a bumper harvest in the midst of one of the worst load shedding crises that we've ever had in 30 years. And the kwacha responded and improved from one of the worst currencies to one of the best currencies. Look at the harvest of 2015, when we had the worst drought in the country in 30 years. But the drought was one of the best in the last 10 years. So he said, you can't dismiss prayer. And the kwacha responded. So now, when President Lungu prayed, he was mocked, faced by local press, local politicians that this is nothing to do with God. This has to do with your planning. Just plan how you are going to import maize. Just plan how you are going to import power. There's no need to pray. They mocked him. And the Bloomberg report went worldwide because it was Bloomberg. And it was, I think if you Google it, it was something like, Zambian president resorts to God amidst drought or something like that. It was a mocking. Another one, I think, is it a Reuters report that does commodity reporting like Bloomberg, even said, Zambian president prays for currency to stabilize. So imagine how ridiculous it was. But the currency stabilized. Zambia had the biggest bumper harvest amidst such a crisis. So thank you, Dr. Joshua Banda, for reminding us of that. Many people would dismiss prayer, corporate prayer, like the one that the people should pray. Okay, here's my last bit, and I invite you to join the debate. The United Nations Human Rights Council based in Geneva sent a special rapporteur, Madam Irene Khan. She visited our country for 10 days between January 2020, 2025 to, I think, at the end of that month. And she had, in September, issued a damning report about Zambia, and decried that Zambia was abusing its human rights, that the current government, President Hakainde Hichilema's government, was abusing human rights practices had gotten worse. Political activists, members of the opposition were being tortured, were being locked up, were being abused, and he was abusing state institutions such as the parliament, the judiciary, ECZ, to shrink the democratic space in Zambia. And Zambia immediately dismissed that report, and they said it's not true. So usually when you dispute the report, and usually the mandate of the UN special, the special rapporteur is to come and investigate what they've alleged, because the UN is present in Zambia. They are present in Zambia. So when they compile such a report and express concern, they usually send a delegation to come and verify the reports, consolidate the reports, and see for themselves those final issues. And so she was in the country, and she issued a preliminary report. She has finally issued a final report. I saw government respond to this headline, UNHCR finds Zambia guilty. And Cornelius Mwetwa spent a lot of time trying to teach us the mandate of the special rapporteur of the UN Human Rights Council. The report is available. You can come to my page. I think we need to create a link so that everyone can make their opinion. Let me just read from the report. The UN Special Rapporteur report is out. It will be presented to the UN Human Rights Council on Wednesday, 18th June 2025. Here is a summary as contained in the report. The Special Rapporteur on the promotion and protection of right to freedom of opinion and expression, Irene Khan, visited Zambia from 20 to 31st January 2025. Remember, there are various special rapporteurs, some on torture, some on human rights abuses, some on labor practices, especially those involving children in labor markets. So there are various special rapporteurs. This one is specifically covering freedom of expression. So she's a special rapporteur to protect right to freedom of opinion and freedom of expression. That's a mandate. And remember, the special rapporteurs are not UN employees. They are mere experts employed, and they are voluntary. This is to protect their independence and their mandate, that they are totally independent. So when they do a report like this, it's now tabled to the official position, which is in this case the council. So the council comprises 47 member states. Zambia tried to participate in the elections last year. Then this damning report came in September, earlier before October. So Zambia withdrew its participation. Remember, again, the Daily Nation said Zambia rejected by the UNHCR Council, and there was hula baloo. Zambia withdrew its participation in that election because there was a report, country report on Zambia that was very damning, that President Hakainde Hichilema was abusing human rights, clamping down on freedom of expression, locking up bloggers, vloggers, there were all sorts of reports against him. So there's no way they would have won that election. They withdrew and invited the special rapporteur, which is her duty anyway. She was still going to come because she had issued her opinion on Zambia. So this is her visit to Zambia. In the present report, Ms. Khan acknowledges progress, including progress made by the Zambian government, including the adoption of the Access to Information Act and the repeal of the offense of defamation of the president. She also noted ongoing challenges regarding freedom of expression and the need for legal and policy reforms. In her key recommendations, she's called for the implementation of the Access to Information Act. Remember, the government of President Hakainde Hichilema has passed Access to Information Act. We are going into 2 years. It has not been actualized. You still can't get information when you wish to. Then there is a decriminalization of defamation. This has been abused extensively, especially under the cyber security and cyber crimes law. We have said you can't criminalize speech, so she's calling for decriminalization of speech. If I insult the president or I insult anyone, I should go to court, to a civil court, and sue you, and then you pay me. Not for the police to come in and lock you up. This is a standard principle in democracy, that speech, except for very rare type of speech, if you're calling for genocide, if you're calling for war, if you are engaged in treason, maybe that kind of speech. But speech at wali tukawa kateka bakulonga ba police takwaba. So she's called for the decriminalization of defamation, and then the revision of some of speech-related offenses in the Penal Code, and the restrictive laws that have been enacted to bring them into line with international standards. Remember, President Hakainde Hichilema has just passed a raft of terrible laws against speech. He's sending us up to 20 years, some up to life imprisonment. So he's passed some of the worst laws on speech that any credible democratic state can pass. We sound like we are North Korea. She also called for strengthening of the media and state institutions. She notes the rise of disinformation and the need to address it with a multi-pronged strategy grounded in human rights. The special rapporteur encourages government to continue efforts to expand internet connectivity. This is to support freedom of expression and access to information. If our internet is being clamped down, it's being censored, you have to watch what you say because of the cyber laws. They can come, investigate, they can burgle into your WhatsApp, into your messages. They can decrypt your WhatsApp. They can intercept both your text and voice messages. We are like North Korea. So here are our recommendations, key recommendation. Number one, Zambia has to implement access to information law. It has to decriminalize defamation laws. Like I said, defamation must remain non-criminal. Let me give you an example for our people to understand. Saboy Imboila, NDC leader, issues a tirade of attacks against Special Assistant to the President, Chief Communications Officer Clayson Amasaka. The police arrest Saboy Imboila and prosecutor. Similar to Munia Zulu. Munia Zulu issues statements against the ministers of finance and ministers of infrastructure. The police come in. That can't happen in a democracy if you decriminalize defamation laws. What Clayson Amasaka should have done, if we had decriminalized the law, is for him to sue Saboy Imboila. What the ministers should have done is to sue Munia Zulu, not to use the state and, to criminalize the process where people are sent to jail. So that Zambia should abandon disinformation, and as it is increasing on toxic and polarizing speech, is misleading the public and is sowing seeds of discord. That Zambia must accelerate reforms to foster a culture of transparency and openness. And Zambia must strengthen human rights. Then she expressed disappointment at how Parliament and Nelly Muti conducted themselves. She asked to meet this committee on freedom of expression. And this committee excluded members of the opposition, even presented one document. They didn't want other members of the committee to speak. That in itself was censorship. The very thing she had come to investigate. And Nelly Muti was already abrogating, the law in the manner she did that. She had later to privately meet some members of the opposition, but she highlights this particular matter of how even Parliament, is being manipulated to silence the divergent views. She has found that the government of President Hakainde Hichilema is suppressing dissent, is suppressing critical voices, and has encouraged the growing trend where dissenting voices are being attacked. Human rights defenders, civil society groupings. And she identifies something very serious, which is, I think, a mockery to Mwamba Malila, who himself has been a human rights defender, who has sat on the African Human Rights Commission Charter, who himself is a luminary for freedoms and the expansion of human rights across the world. He has sat on UN bodies. He has sat in Geneva. He was a member of the the African Union's body. I've just told you about, African Commission on Human Rights. Here, the special rapporteur says the judiciary has been weaponized against political opponents and critics of President Hakainde Hichilema. This is for me, it's a personal embarrassment to the Chief Justice Mwamba Malila, who's leading the judiciary, that his judiciary has been weaponized by the executive to punish political opponents. But vati va Mwamba Malila mwalichitarenti ya judiciary kuri va Hakainde Hichilema. Mulapangana tinani tuwalaka kalelo, Munia Zulu, Mabonga, nani, you would then unleash the institution of the judiciary. That's what she's saying here. There's another one, abuse of legal system to target arrests and prosecution of political and critics. This is very, very serious, because she's recognizing that the entire legal system, from the police, DPP, and the judiciary are in cahoot to target political opponents, arrest them and prosecute them and send them to jail. You are working in concert. This is a very damning findings. For me, I'm singling out the Chief Justice because I know him personally. I've interacted with him personally. I've bought books he has authored and autographed, and I've interacted with him when I was at the African Union. Here, the findings are very damning for a man of such standing. So there is an abuse of the legal system to target, investigate, arrest, and prosecute political opponents of President Hakainde Hichilema and critics. Then the continued abuse of Public Order Act, that's self-explanatory. Political parties have not been allowed to hold public meetings. There's been an increasing level where the IG said he would not even allow. He says the country is very peaceful, but every time we apply for a public meeting, he says the state of the country, security situation is very volatile, we can't give you. But he says, no, the country is peaceful. But when we apply, they say, no, you can't. So the abuse of the Public Order Act. Now, you need to read the report yourself. Government is going to pounce on, for example, that earlier paragraphs I read, where they are saying there was a 10-year abuse of the law, abuse of freedoms, rights and freedoms. Government is going to pounce on that. They found the PF guilty. No, it's not about that. They're just recounting the history. And they are saying, government, you change government to change these things. There's some slight improvement, Access to Information Act and decriminalization of this law on the president, defamation of the president, the decriminalization of it. Those are slight improvement. They've acknowledged, and that the atmosphere might be better. But they've catalogued what I've just said. If a human rights, the United Nations Human Rights Council says your judiciary is weaponized against political opponents, what are they saying? You're part of the kitchen cabinet of the executive. It's an embarrassment. That means there's no autonomy, there's no independence of the judiciary. That's what the UN report is saying. If they are saying the entire legal system has been honed to prosecute political opponents, it means from arrest, investigations, arrest, prosecution to jail. It means most of the political opponents that have been jailed, they are doubting if this has been done in the interest of justice or it's been done in the interest to please the executive. Whatever propaganda they will try to create on this report is a damning report. Read it for yourself and see through word by word what is the letter saying. So like I'm saying, public media will pounce on where there was praise to government that the period of the PF, was a terrible period. They've acknowledged that. But they acknowledge again that beginning 2021, it was supposed to be a better life. But see what you've done to the judiciary. See what you've done to the police. See what you've done to courts of law. How do you even believe the people you've sent to jail committed any offense if the state of the judiciary is like that, if the state of parliament is like that? It's a damning indictment against our country. The only time that we've appeared before the United Nations Human Rights Council is on issues. I remember that Dr. Cholwe Bean we've discussed here, who misconducts himself, was once a special rapporteur on labor practices, and he came to Zambia to investigate the presence of children in labor in the labor market. So, but on human rights, we haven't had a UN special rapporteur, I think, until maybe 2007. So this was 2014, the special rapporteurs that came with Dr. Cholwe Bean and others. In 2014, they were just discussing labor practices. And then there is this damning report. However you try to clean it up, it's dirty. Mwantu Akwalesa, help me by participating in the program. I've opened the phone lines. Let us participate in the program. The remains of the late president arrive tomorrow. President Hakainde Hichilema will personally be at the airport in his capacity as President of the Republic of Zambia to receive the remains of his predecessor, Zambia's 6th President, Dr. Edgar Chagwa Lungu. The process will be at the Presidential Pavilion. Invitations are restricted for those that have been invited. Check your cards at Cabinet Office, Office of Official Functions, State Functions is at Cabinet Office on the first floor there. On the ground floor, they will direct you if you've been invited. I've seen that the family and members of the Patriotic Front have been mentioned in the program. So, Honorable Given Lubinda and your team, see how many cards you have, pick those cards and ensure that you are there at the airport to receive the president. If we are carrying choir and other supporters, you probably not be allowed in the precinct of the airport. It will be at the Presidential Pavilion. Elonga mlefo kuiminina panse badaba kafo kuiminina panse ku airport. I kono kuiminina kuli airport ukwanyu. Kuiminina before the junction here kuya Kasisi. Because Presidential Pavilion wengirira just after the junction there. Enshira kuya ku Presidential Pavilion. So ngamaya iminina kumbi mukasanga umubiri wa wakateka na opitakale. So I think the best place for those that may not be allowed in the premises is to stand just before the junction to Kasisi and to the airport. That way, I think you can see the cortege when it takes the remains of the late president to Chifwema at 15 hours, 15:10 when the program ends. There was a small incident where we learned that the Road Development Agency was going to close the road beginning Saturday of Leopard Zoo Road for 7 kilometers. This meant that then the remains would not go to Chifwema. But again, the family, believing in the goodwill so far, quickly engaged government, and government was able to resolve that matter. Isn't it something of note? Isn't it something that it begins to build confidence that maybe government means well in this process so far? Because you can imagine our reaction when they said the road beginning on Saturday will be closed. What would you have interpreted as well? Yet the funeral is going up to Monday. Was it going to be used as an excuse that RD has closed that road going to New Kasama and Chifwema? But as soon as the family engaged Cabinet Office and government team, government said we'll resolve it. And by the end of the day yesterday, the matter was resolved. And RDA issued a fresh notice that the road will not be closed this weekend. They'll begin their rehabilitation next week. And that road is very narrow. There's a huge community that has emerged from there. And that road is very terribly narrow. And I hope that they expand it in their rehabilitation and expansion. Oh, I haven't put the number. My God. Here. There is a number, 0973-078082. You can call us and let's hear your views. That's the number, 0973-078082. Participate in this discussion.
Many times, whenever we gathered for prayer, he would have his clasped hands like this, either at State House or wherever else. So he loved the aspect of the praying hands, and he constantly would mention the fact that he desired prayer for himself, for his family, and for the nation. The praying hands referred to the consistency in intercession for the prayer of the nation, prayer for the nation. And prayer for believers is the thing that enables us to enact God's will. And let me use this opportunity as we have this tribute to be able to call upon Zambia that during this period as we celebrate this life, let's use this time also to pray. Because in prayer, we listen to God, we hear what God has to say to us, and we gain instruction. When we are mourning at a time like now, with our emotions high, there's a way in which this thing overwhelms us. But when we kneel kneel down to prayer. We surrender our emotions and our desires to God, and God has a way of speaking to us. And our conversations with the former president were really around how prayer would be an investment to change a life. I remember we reflected on 2015 and how at that time the economy was webbing down, and Bloomberg covered the event on the 18th of October. And their report on that event was the fact that Zambia was wasting time praying. They ought to have been in some rooms somewhere planning, because their economy was in shambles. I give credit to Bloomberg because a few years later, when it had been reported that year that the kwacha, to the surprise of everybody, became one of the best performing currencies that year, and that we, of course, ended up we were anticipating not so good rainfall. We ended up with a good rainfall, a good harvest the following year. They reported that turnaround. And I remember that somebody from one of their media houses came and interviewed me right here at the church. And I give them credit for the fact that even though they looked down upon the power of prayer, now they were able to say there was a visible result. So Zambia, let's remember to pray, even as we mourn and celebrate this life.
Thank you, Bishop H.K. Banda, for that illustration when President Edgar Lungu prayed for rain despite the drought and prayed for the currency that was, and was mocked across the world. The Zambian president prays for national currency, but it improved. And prayer is a wonderful thing. Whenever Mabo, imamuli ku Zambia, I respect you so much, Mabo. You are a leader of Zambian community in Italy. And soon as you heard that the president had died that Thursday, you said, I'll leave by Saturday. And you lived up to your name, up to your word here on my program. And you've been in Zambia since then. Please give us an update and give us your thoughts.
Ambassador, I thought, yes, since we, Dr. Edgar Chagwa Lungu, may he so rest in peace, he was our only former living head of state. I was thinking, Kuchida wants to losha. But I found, I don't know, yesterday there was a friend who also came to see me from the Copper Belt, so we had to escort him to Intercity. I was just putting on this plain shirt with a printed head of our former late president. We went to see the manager by Intercity because somebody knows her, so they wanted to give our friend some discount or something like that, how it works here. Ambassador, I was ambushed. The amount of hate and bitterness I've found. I was saying, Avane, since we have the program now, the government and the family have come to a concession. Can't we just mourn in peace? Because this man is no more. But why are you so angry? I don't know these people. There was a lady who was talking so much and she brought this mob. We were upstairs there. They literally tore the T-shirt with the president's head on, right on my body. They tore it apart.
They attacked you?
Yes. Yesterday, Ambassador.
Oh,
so
my
niece were in the manager's office. My niece on the stairs. But what have we done? At the shirt you're putting on, I just heard this noise. It was really crazy and intense and so fast. I am so shocked and very surprised. They were saying, you are disrespecting our president, meaning the incumbent. And I was saying, but this president on my shirt is normal. Like, are you Africans? Where is our Africanism? Like, and these guys were so angry, Ambassador. I mean, so irate. It's like, oh.
Maka does. What time was that? That was
this man. How could you?
Mr. Mabo, what time was it?
It was quite 3-4 p.m. So, Tulanda Kuma is 15-16 hours.
Mkwai. And what's the name of the manager?
The lady, she's my friend's. I have a friend, Ruben, who's an aspiring, member of parliament for our constituents where we come
Okay,
from.
we might keep that information private. But you went to Intercity to see the manager, and around 15 hours you were attacked by suspected UPND cadres who didn't want, because you were wearing a T-shirt. You've printed the T-shirt with a portrait of Zambia's 6th president, because it's a mourning period, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
So when we passed, we asked where the manager's office was, and we passed. It's some lady, and maybe I would also keep her name for security's safety's name. And we passed. When we passed, because our office is upstairs, maybe the 2nd floor or something. So when we passed down there, so people were observing. I don't know, some of them, they looked like council workers. But then they were a little bit hesitant. Then there came a group that took over. The manager was trying to be reasonable. She was saying, can you get into my office? And these guys just came up. They walked up to the manager's office, and they got inside there. And I was with 3 other guys, and they were just helpless. And they were, these are the guys I can also take down, but we don't fight nowadays. It's barbaric. And then at first there were 2 of them, and then they just kept on piling up, and it was just like this group of people, and they were trying to drag me downstairs where there was the real mob waiting for us.
I'm so sorry, and I was getting those details, Mr. Mabo, for us to speak about it. President Hakainde actually my boss that the markets are safe, that you can wear any regalia. And his henchmen and all his juniors, they boast about how safe markets are. There you are. And the goodness is you're a credible person. You're not an ordinary man. You live in Italy. You've traveled specifically to come and mourn the late president. So the UPND ought to apologize for this and deal with that criminal conduct that occurred. I think they know who did that to you, and you're not an ordinary person. No, Mr. Mabo, you are a respected man, a Zambian who lives in Italy, and you love our country. All you want is, in fact, during this entire period, you've been calling for peace. You've been calling on the family and the state to come to an amicable agreement. You have even suspended your travel back to Italy because you want to attend the mourning period and to mourn the late president. Totally unfortunate. I'll also pick it up from there. And thank you for letting us know that you were attacked because you were wearing Edgar Lungu's portrait.
I thought, though, if I could reason ambassador na hooliganism, when we lose somebody at Anakilo Mushidina culture and traditions across all tribes, respect Fidia, and that's a public place. I don't know why it's subjected. But I would say there was a gentleman who was dressed in plain clothes. He was a police officer. He really came and helped. He helped me to go downstairs and advised me to get back to our car. And our car is this Ford Ranger with very tinted glass. So we could get back, and I could sit in the car. And there was just this young boy who was like, as soon as you got here, when your car arrived here and you parked it, these people are following you. What makes me feel very sad, I thought there's disrespect only Kumulu at the higher levels of the death, the demise of our former president. But I found it even on the ground. I experienced first-hand aggression and hooliganism. I don't know if it's the cost of living, hurting people, but it was so bad, Ambassador. And I didn't want to really talk about this much, since now there's at least an agreement and we are going to receive the remains of our former head of state. I would like to mourn in peace.
Mr. Mabo, give me your first name. Your first name?
John
Mabo. Okay.
John Mabo.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll do a text to one of these leaders in UPNG and to challenge them to investigate your case.
Yes, please. Because then they will try, after my friends and the manager tried to explain to these people who I was. They were trying to apologize and everything, but then they were trying to also stand on their ground to say, but we can't allow this. But we are mourning. I wasn't there as a cadre or trying to be doing partisan politics, Ambassador. I feel very disheartened, and it's just not I don't know that Galosha, but they welcome Zambia Vampel.
No, yeah, thank you very much. Thank you. And I'm so sorry for that attack on an innocent patriot Zambian like yourself. Thank you. That's Mr. Mabo. He has alerted about something unfortunate that occurred where he was attacked at Intercity. Is a Zambian based in Italy, and they went to see the manager at Intercity, and there he was attacked ruthlessly, as you've heard, and a police officer in plain clothes had to escort him to his car. Good evening. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Good evening, or it's afternoon that side. My name is Joseph. I'm just calling within.
Yes, Joseph.
Yeah. Well, we are actually mourning. First of all, my condolences to you and Zambia at large.
Thank you very much.
The more reason, we've been talking about sincerity when we speak about let's mourn in peace, let's mourn in dignity. I've been checking most of the comments that are coming from the UPND associated media logs and everything. When you look, you see the negativity coming out of there. You wonder whether, whatever is being said, especially by the president, is genuine. There isn't sincerity. It's sad that I just heard that the other gentleman was actually attacked. There's actually another young man that was attacked at Kulima Tower the day before yesterday. He's just a grade 12, but of course, you know that this funeral has touched different people of different ages. And so he had gone to the secretariat, and being an Easterner, they poured powder on him. So on his way back home, trying to get on a bus at Kulima Tower, he was actually beaten. His name is Jojo. He was actually beaten.
Jojo. He's from where?
Others.
He's from where, Jojo? From the information you know.
Yeah, he's from Chawama.
Chawama. Jojo from Chawama.
Yes, he comes. Jojo from Chawama. He was beaten at Kulima Tower bus station. So these are some of the things we felt like these being leaders, and the fact that the government has decided and has said this is how we are going to go. There is consensus here. They should have that thing should have actually gone down to everyone in their party. But it's like Edgar Lungu is more of a factor in his death than he was even alive. Where this fear is coming from, we do not know. We do not understand. And as Zambia, we ought to be very worried. If things are happening even before we bury, are happening like this, what will happen after burial? For me, I looked at it like the more reason they were pushing for this thing to happen this way quickly, they bury so that we continue with their agenda, which is not right. So my appeal to the government is let them be sincere about what they are doing. Let their words match their actions. Let there not just be a talk, but action be taken, especially against those that are terrorizing other people in this period of time. We only have one nation, which is Zambia, and all of us are Zambians. And each and every person must be accorded the right to mourn their leader in dignity, not being harassed because you are wearing a t-shirt. For God's sake, what am I supposed to do? If we wear t-shirts of the people that have departed to show allegiance and, the love. What harm will I do to you by wearing a t-shirt? Am I campaigning this person or what? The person in power? No. I'm just showing you that I love this person. And Edgar Lungu, you can't fight it. It's natural. That man was just loved naturally. He's just a lovable person. You can't resist it. Whether with politics or without politics, it's just easy to love this hero. It's difficult to hate him. I thank you, Mwamba.
Thank you for your contribution. Yeah, these incidents that are occurring, at least the ones we've reported, of a credible source like Mr. John Mabo, who's head of the Zambian community in Italy, has traveled for the funeral. I think he traveled over the weekend just after the late president passed on. And there he has narrated how he thought we are mourning. He thought there is a sense of mourning in the country until he walked at Intercity where he was harassed and the T-shirt torn from him. And those UPND thugs wanted to take him to a larger mob downstairs, all because he was wearing a UPND, a T-shirt bearing the portrait of the former president, President Edgar Lungu. That total is an unfortunate. And now we have a case of Jojo from Chawama, who was beaten brutally at Kulima Tower because he had unga which they had poured on him, Abachimbuya, and he was wearing a T-shirt for Edgar Lungu. Those incidences are sad and totally inexcusable. And I hope that the UPND will take action. The remains of the late president will arrive tomorrow. Let me just read the program briefly as I'm waiting for your call, just to update those that are joining us. So there is a program for the military honors ceremony on the occasion of the arrival of the body of His Excellency Dr. Edgar Chagwa Lungu, 6th President of the Republic of Zambia, at Kenneth Kaunda International Airport Presidential Pavilion. This will occur on Wednesday, 18th June 2025. At 13 hours, arrival of all invited guests. At 13:20, guard of honor to take position at Kenneth Kaunda International Airport, the Presidential Pavilion. 13:30, arrival of spouses to the former ministers. 13:40, arrival of members of the Patriotic Front and close family members of His Excellency Dr. Edgar Chagwa Lungu, who was the 6th President of the Republic of Zambia. At 13:50, 13:45, arrival of service chiefs. At 13:50, arrival of Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, President of the Republic of Zambia, at Kenneth Kaunda International Airport. Then this presidential salute begins. It's a process. It's a ceremony on its own. It's a mini ceremony. So presidential salute and the Zambian national anthem. At 14 hours, arrival of the special aircraft that is carrying the remains of the late president. At 14:10, the carrying party goes to the aircraft. At 14:20, the body of His Excellency Dr. Edgar Chagwa Lungu is removed from the special aircraft and placed on the gun carriage. At 14:30, the body of President Lungu is then taken to the designated place for a short service, church service. This after this ceremony, the body will be taken to plot number 56660 Chifwema Road in New Kasama, Lusaka South. At 14:50, President Hakainde Hichilema will proceed to the saluting desk and takes the presidential salute. 15 hours departure of President Hakainde Hichilema. 15:10 departure of invited dignitaries. For those that wish to be on the line, I think you can line up the streets if there will be time for you. The time is known when the late presidents. It's in the afternoons after 15 hours. The cortege carrying the president, the late president, will begin his journey to Chifwema in New Kasama, Lusaka South. Okay, please call so that we're doing an update, and that's the update. We're also discussing the human rights issue. We also updated you on the false reports by our brother, Mr. Simon Mwewau, saying the aircraft carrying the late president will be that one owned by Lusaka businessman Bowden Findlay. The family has threatened to sue, will actually sue Mr. Simon Mwewa Chitambala for those remarks. Good evening. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from. Yes, sir. Please speak up. Speak up.
Okay, still Mfika.
Hey, yo, Mfika number. Please speak up. Tell us your name and where you are calling us from and contribute.
Ninebo Kapwimbi, and I want to talk about the report we have rapporteur.
Okay, yes, indeed. Mr. Kafwimbi, continue.
It is very disappointing, and these are the things that we have been trying to say. You know, we vehemently worked against the wrongs that were done against the people by PF. I was actually in the camp here for Elias, my young brother Elias, our ambassador, and you know, we did not want to see wrongs, but these people have gone off track. They're actually worse, to be honest. And this is what is coming out now. For such a report to come out, and then the gagging system where you can't talk is overwhelming. It was overwhelming, and but yeah, it is coming out, and Mubanga ni vyo vile peporamba vyo kulanda. You know, we have you know, like Pali Misinta, Nomba, I think let it be chive. And then Uyum Kalamba Munensu you or Muleranda po you is even the one who's made me actually go. Because Mukalamba Simon, Naripusene Ponankwe, 2-3 weeks, posted a picture, and I said, now it's for Simon. You know, I'm not going to discredit his father, but I know what the father used to do. His fiance is online, you know. I said, okay, but at least he backed down. You know, but the past is the past. Let us look at the future and see if we can be better. And thank you for your program. So that we see where the wrongs of this thing is. I follow Kasonde Mwenda because Kasonde Mwenda tabepa. Ngalanda baitile mababu na kwa evidence. Because you follow you kulandira muri Kasonde. Ni Kasonde ndire nichi you know. So
now, my dear brother Bakafwimbi, the audience might not know who you are. Let me just do a mini introduction. Kelvin Chandaka Fwimbi is based in Australia. He was one of those vocal people in what we call the 11th province, the diaspora. So when Nailas Munsha, you know, and Father Oscar from Italy and others really mobilized the diaspora against the government of Edgar Lungu. Not that they hated Edgar Lungu, but they didn't like some of the things that were occurring in his government. And they mobilized the diaspora for President Hakainde Hichilema. And they've become the fiercest critic of President Hakainde Hichilema. Why? Wakafwimbi londolele nicho mwa bushenmo mwa pilibuka na ngubute kwa Hakainde mwa pilibuka.
Mkwaita toa pilibuka po ifintu filandikwa ne fintu filechitika. Fiance is against everything that we stood for. So we don't know why our leader Musa has also disappeared. I spoke to Patrick the other day, to be I said, but
awepo chinacho mungachita teti mulanda tapalefe mungachita kuri balungu mwachitereshani. Can you begin to mobilize again? Because you are not partisan. You want a better Zambia. So teti mulanda fiari luwana. Can you begin mobilizing to correct the situation?
Anyway, Mwamba inena sotena that no bank contribution yenu mipangire.
Welcome. And I would like you to do the work that you did for Zambia. I don't think you did it for President Hakainde Hichilema. You wanted a better Zambia. You wanted respect for human rights. You were fighting against corruption. You wanted all these good things for our country. And like you are saying in your own words, like your father Oscar said, this man is far worse. We brought a monster. So you brought a monster. Twafuenko mumuika toi monster. Thank you very much. Hilarious. But these are Zambians in the diaspora that you respect. You know, Zambia. They are truly just, they just love our country. And what they see where they are is what they aspire that our country should be. Well run, respect for human rights and democracy, abhor corruption, promote one Zambia, one nation, and Kelvin Chandaka Fwimbi like his colleagues. Ababa nenso wapokele inchito like, you know, wailas munsha, naba na wena wadi kwate inchito wadi talala. Probably they have to keep their jobs. But these men, the other day you saw Professor Kasonso, who was also very vocal against the late president's government. But he just put it plainly. That video that went viral. You cannot do this to the former president. This was one of the biggest critics. He says, but you cannot do what you have done. So what should we say other than you are the cause of, you know, his demise? It was a very strong statement from Professor Kasonso. But he was not hiding the extent of his disappointment. They really had lofty hopes that the president would live far better than, you know, the issues they used to condemn. So the attack on Mr. Mabo is unacceptable, and I hope that we will get to the bottom of it, and the UPND will ensure that the police catch those thugs that attacked Mr. John Mabo from Italy.
Many times, whenever we gathered for prayer, he would have his clasped hands like this, either at State House or wherever else. So he loved the aspect of the praying hands, and he constantly would mention the fact that he desired prayer for himself, for his family, and for the nation. The praying hands referred to the consistency in intercession for the prayer of the nation, prayer for the nation. And prayer for believers is the thing that enables us to enact God's will. And let me use this opportunity as we have this tribute to be able to call upon Zambia that during this period as we celebrate this life, let's use this time also to pray. Because in prayer, we listen to God, we hear what God has to say to us, and we gain instruction. When we are mourning at a time like now, with our emotions high, there's a way in which this thing overwhelms us. But when we kneel down to prayer, we surrender our emotions and our desires to God, and God has a way of speaking to us. And our conversations with the former president were really around how prayer would be an investment to change a life. I remember we reflected on 2015 and how at that time the economy was webbing down, and Bloomberg covered the event on the 18th of October. And their report on that event was the fact that Zambia was wasting time praying. They ought to have been in some room somewhere planning, because their economy was in shambles. I give credit to Bloomberg because a few years later, when it had been reported that year that the Kwacha to the surprise of everybody, became one of the best performing currencies that year, and that we, of course, ended up we were anticipating not so good rainfall. We ended up with a good rainfall, a good harvest the following year. They reported that turnaround, and I remember that somebody from one of their media houses came and interviewed me right here at the church. And I give them credit for the fact that even though they looked down upon the power of prayer, now they were able to say there was a visible result. So Zambia, let's remember to pray, even as we mourn and celebrate this life.
Let's remember to pray as a nation. Bishop H.K. Banda reminds us. Good evening. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
My name is Sims. I'm calling you from Seattle.
Okay. From Seattle, Washington.
Yes.
My brother, make your contributions.
Yeah, I just want to quickly comment on that comment or video that this man had made, Chitambala.
Mm-hmm.
You know, until we get to a place where certain people are made to account for their carelessness,
mm-hmm.
we are going to continue having a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You know, this thing that has continued to play, especially coming from people that align themselves with UPND, this propaganda that is so destructive, especially against the former president. It's not right. It's not right. And these are people that need to be to account and be dealt with in what they do. And the government should actually take steps in dealing with such issues. So this man, for me, I pray that the family will take it upon themselves and sue this man for that malicious behavior against the family. It is so sad that this man, despite all the things that have happened against him, he's continued to being childish and continue to attack the president. It's very unfortunate. It's very, very unfortunate. I'm so hurt. I'm not happy, seeing that and listening to a person that is supposed to be an elderly person to continue scandalizing people of different, standing in society. It's so sad. I thank you, Mwamba. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
The bombers!
Number one, that the body of the late President Lungu shall be transported together with the family from Lanseria Airport in South Africa to Zambia on Wednesday, 18th June 2025, using a private charter made available to the family by well-wishers. Secondly, that following the arrival and receipt of the body by family members in Lusaka, full military honors will be conducted at the Kenneth Kaunda International Airport, after which the body shall be taken to the funeral house in Chifwema, where it will lie instead. Thirdly, that the body of the late former president will be taken to Mulungushi International Conference Center on Thursday 19th June, Friday 20th June, and Saturday 21st June to enable members of the public to pay their last respects from 09 hours to 16 hours, after which it shall be returned on all days to the funeral house in Chifwema to lie instead. that the state funeral that will host foreign dignitaries shall be held at Mulungushi Conference Center on Sunday, 22nd June, and the body of former President Lungu shall be taken to the venue and returned to Chifwema after the event, where it will lie instead. That a valedictory session will be held at the Supreme Court grounds in honor of former President Lungu, a lawyer by profession, on Monday, 23rd June, to be followed by a church service on the same day in the showgrounds in Lusaka, one that would be conducted by His Grace Archbishop Alik Banda. That the body of the late former president shall always lie in state at the funeral house in Chifwema and only be taken away for the above stated functions during the day, after which it shall be returned to the funeral house every day to lie in state at the conclusion of these events. That the body of the late president shall always be accompanied by a relative, the aide-de-camp, and the former president's personal physician. That the period of national mourning shall be extended, and that the two parties shall always consult and agree on who speaks at all events. And further, to avoid the confusion that has been ongoing relating to the Patriotic Front Party, that Honorable Given Lubinda will speak on behalf of the Patriotic Front Party. It is important to emphasize that the family is proceeding based on the guarantees given by the government of the Republic of Zambia that they will not deviate from our agreement or betray the trust of the family and the wishes of the former president. The family hopes that this outcome will bring this matter to a close and avoid further trauma to the family and millions of affected ordinary Zambians. We wish to express our heartfelt gratitude to the Zambian people at home and away who gave the late former president their love, both in life and in death. Your outpouring of love has strengthened us and lightened
this issue. Let me return to the most important reason that brought you here. Thank you to President Mnangagwa for sending you here at short notice. I say short notice because we only got your notification through the ambassador, I think yesterday or yes, in the morning? Yes, around midnight, you see. So your notification came, I saw it this morning myself. And hours later you are here. So thank you to my brother President for sending you here, for offering your condolences on a very dark day for us, or dark period, because it's been 8 days now since our 6th president passed on. So thank you to the President, thank you to you, Vice President General Chiwenga, for putting aside things that were already planned before the death occurred, and you are here. Please pass my message on behalf of the people of Zambia, 20 million Zambians, that we appreciate the President, the government, and the people of Zimbabwe's graciousness through the message of condolences. We also say so because we now have a situation where I'm the 7th president and 5 of them had gone. One went under my time, early on in my leadership. We've been in office now 3 years, 9 months. President Banda. Then we were only left with former President Lungu, only him. So he's now gone. It means we don't have a former president in our country. It's a situation that is really unfortunate. And for you to share this grief with us, we are very grateful. We don't take neighbors for granted, brotherly, sisterly countries for granted. So when this gesture is extended to us, it's only normal for us to say thank you and thank you very much. Please pass the message to President Mnangagwa. And we have been having challenges with the family as to agree burial rights. By now, they've already announced the program of the funeral. We do believe that we will be able to reach consensus. My approach, our government's approach, for me as head of state, is to focus on dialogue rather than conflict, to focus on positive dialogue, not to roll out the powers of the president all the time. So negotiating, agreeing with the family, listening to their concerns, their desires, has been something we decided to invest in and not to just push through things. So we apologize for the delay. By now you should have gone away with the program. So we believe we'll reach some conclusion with the family, amicable conclusion, and then we'll be able to communicate the funeral program to you as Zimbabwe through President Mnangagwa and yourself and the government and the people of Zimbabwe, our family members across the river. Where I was brought up, if you asked the description of Zambia and Zimbabwe, we use a term we call Zimzam. So that's how we define ourselves, Zimzam, meaning Zimbabwe, Zambia, Zamzim, whichever way. So please bear with us. Express that apology to the President that will be coming to you soon with the formalities of the burial to honor our sixth President, honor him properly by burying him decently in our country, not in any other country, but in our country, because he was our head of state. Vice President General Chiwenga, thank you very much once more. And I won't keep you too long. I'm sure you still have some government business to do today across the river.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think most of what the president said has come to pass. Someone has alerted me to the series of posts made by Causeway. You know, Causeway in an online media run from State House. You know, the administrators are media members of State House. It's run from State House. The Zambia Conference of Catholic Bishops have even made it before, this rogue site and others, that the president must either moderate these online media because they are his. They are running his name. They are run to support the UPNG and to support his presidency. And they are run by his officials from State House. Yet, these online media bring the most volatile of hate speech in our country. They peddle lies, they peddle hate speech, they promote tribalism and divisions. And sadly, the victims of Causeway and others, they have no recourse to relief for anyone because the police will never act upon them. Zicta knows who the administrators are and they will not act upon them. The president knows that this is his site. They will do nothing, and the victims of this hate campaign that is perpetrated by Causeway media from State House just suffer in silence. So someone has alerted me to the earlier post. Let me just read them, from State House. So while the president preaches peace, you'll have Simon Mwewa there, his vlogger, claiming that Vowden Findlay is bringing the remains of the plane. And his own media team. The first one is that we will not allow the military to access a private carrying the body. Only close PF family members will. Honorable Given Lubinda. Honorable Given Lubinda was Minister of Justice. He knows what military honors are. He knows what a military program is. How will he even come near there? But this is purposefully being brought here because probably they're planning for tomorrow. Maybe they want to exclude Given Lubinda and his team from accessing the airport. So they would usually start with fake tweets and fake posts to alarm the nation and alarm the police. Because the police know that Koswe is run from State House. Things that they can't say officially, they say them through Koswe. And they literally act as instructions. When they write, I remember they wrote about me that I shouldn't appear on at court because, as a journalist, I would do live coverage by posting. So they posted something like Emmanuel Mwamba is recording the judges and he shouldn't be allowed in court. It was on Koswe. When I went to the Supreme Court grounds, they had instructions that Emmanuel Mwamba must not be allowed. Mwamba, Mwamba that you can't come in. Because we had preceded it. But all I do as a journalist is on my phone, I write. I don't have to recording. I know you can't record in the courts. And the PA system there is very poor. Even if you were to record, you'd catch nothing. Because you are seated in the public gallery. So I would record, when the justices come in, I know all of them. If I'm not sure, I Google immediately. And I said, sitting. I form the quorum. Chair, who's the chair? I type quickly. And when Makebi Zulu stands, I say Makebi Zulu. I say what he has said. When Attorney General stands and I'm producing live feed for our audience that are not allowed in court, they were so incensed that they had to issue those statements. They just saw my blue car and they immediately, came to stop me. When I parked at Intercontinental and walked, they said they've stopped you. Why? Because Koswe had said. So here they are saying that Given Lubinda is saying will not allow military to access a private jet carrying the body. Only close PF family members will be allowed. Falsehood, that are falsehood. Given Lubinda was Justice Minister. Before that, he's one of the longest serving members of parliament. If there's anyone who knows procedures and protocols, it's Given Lubinda. The next one, they say, State House is saying that money is being stashed in the VIP casket using a private jet. That now Lubinda has issued threats against the army not to come near it. Can Lubinda, an astute potential leader of our country, behave like that? But you can see what they're trying to do. They're trying to sow discord, release unofficial information against certain persons that should not be allowed at the airport, despite them having invitations. Then the other one says, PF is planning to cause chaos at KK. We mourn peacefully. We've been mourning the last few days. The last over 12 days in peace at the Secretariat. We've been victims of attacks, as you saw from Mr. John Mabo from Italy and from that Giorgio from Chawama. PF to cause chaos at KK International Airport, Koswe, State House. The other one is that Honorable Given Lubinda says we'll provide our own security and we don't need the military. Just utter hate speech. And where can Given Lubinda complain against these lies? Nowhere. That is why the Zambia Conference of Catholic Bishops and other stakeholders have urged President Hakainde Hichilema to tame these rogue media. They are the ones that inflame emotions and opinions in the country. They're the ones that weaponize. For example, if a matter is going before a magistrate or judge, and that magistrate in his conduct appear to be fair, they'll begin to scandalize Mwea on Koswe. We have seen even their own ministers who seem to be falling away, they'll be scandalized on Koswe. And like they said, Mr. President, you can't practice guerrilla journalism. You are now a head of state. You are president of all. You have ZNBC, Times, Daily Mail. You have the entire infrastructure at bay as head of state. You cannot engage in this guerrilla warfare that you are. Ask Zicta. They've conducted a technical and digital audit on Koswe. They know who the administrators are. I've named them before because even the previous government had identified them. You can even ask Amos Chanda, who's with you. He will confirm with you who the administrators of Koswe are. Even now, if you do a digital conduct and you see who's posting, you will know, even when they are using layers of pseudonym, because you can trace to a phone number, whether they are using a US number or a South African number, you can trace. And I remember that in 2018, Zikta and Facebook joined in hands and had an MOU. So they can go to the back end and give you the information you want at any time. So we never make false allegations. Mr. President, like we said the other day, Wushe ngapaisa abantu pari chidilo bushembwana shomula shileka shilesuma abantu, lock them up. These matters will be back and end by Monday. Then we can remove our gloves. Then we can fight. Because you are fighting a dirty fight. It's not fair when your colleagues are mourning. I'm in a lot of pain because I'm unable to attend the funeral. I'm unable to give my last respects. It's difficult. But we have to keep our members, our audience alive to what is happening. And it's just for the love of the country that we do some of these things. Can't we be patriotic during this period? Can you cage Koswe, your own media, identified media? And if I'm lying, you can ask Zikta tomorrow. They'll give you a report. They can call Facebook. They'll give you all the administrators. And Facebook has an office in Johannesburg. I mean, is it in East London in South Africa? They have an office. Zikta can, if that MOU has expired, you can establish. Because you claim that you're fighting cyber crimes. You claim that we don't want insults like what Why Me and others are doing. You claim that there should be no Facebook page that should hide behind anonymity. So you have the infrastructure of Facebook to give you who the administrators are, even when they use pseudonyms. So Wakateka, no. Tomorrow you'll be standing before the casket of your brother, Zambia's 6th president. Allow dignity and decency to prevail. Do not allow your boys to mar your name. And don't think that your name will be distant when they are abusing an infrastructure like Koswe. We know then it is you if you are not stopping them. And, we all talk about hypocrisy. So you'll be standing before the casket of the late president, yet he's being insulted by your own media. Show leadership. You've shown leadership so far. You've uttered good remarks. There you were promising Honorable Chiwenga that you will invite the heads of states and that you mourn and put to rest the remains of your predecessor with dignity that Zambians want. You are so far living up to that testimony. You have successfully brokered this peace. You sent a high delegation team led by Honorable Enoch Kavindele, Leslie Mbula, and the young man Mulambo Haimbe and the others. You have brokered the peace. You have broken the ice. The remains are coming tomorrow. Why don't we go through this period? The Simon Mwewa, who stands with you, who's always vlogging from your presidential plane, has to say what he's saying. Because if I start this on, tell this one is not representing us. I have said the other day there were a tribal song. I just woke up. It's one of the things I found. I didn't speak to anyone. I came here and had an emergency broadcast. I said that doesn't represent the PF. It doesn't represent me where I'm spokesperson for the party. And I condemned those attacks before even speaking to anyone. That's what a leader does. So you cannot allow Simon Mwewa, who's your vlogger. You can't not allow here Koswe, run by your administrators, your media team at State House, insult the memories of the late president in this fashion. Now wane icho chena chakana.
Ichalo chatalala Ikumbiri afita Imisoana shumfwa.
There's an event that will take place tomorrow. This is in memory of Dr. Frederick Jacob Titus Chiluba. It's a celebration of his 14th memorial. It will take place in the morning at Embassy Park. I was joking about that the country calls him FTJ. He himself repeatedly said, I'm FJT, because Jacob and Titus is one name. So it's FJT Chiluba. It will be his 14th memorial. It's taking place, and we're talking about June. That June is going to be a very difficult year for all of us, because this is a month that we have lost Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, Dr. Frederick Chiluba, and now Dr. Edgar Chagwa Lungu. So all the memorials will take place in June. Very, very difficult period. Today is when we lost, 17th is when we lost Dr. Kaunda. The other day I was even joking that Dr. Kaunda just wanted to be the first all the time, because even his birthday, was 28th October, Chiluba was 28th April, and Chiluba was 30th April, and said Dr. Kaunda he was the first president. Even now in death, we have to celebrate his memorial first before we go to that of Dr. Chiluba. Some funny facts there. Okay, on the hour, we'll be ending the broadcast. I think, thank you for all those that called. There's just a matter of importance. Mr. John Mabo, who's a leader of the Zambian community in Italy, was wearing a T-shirt for Edgar Lungu at Intercity, and was brutally attacked, and they tore the T-shirt from his body, remained with the vest. He's just sent me the pictures. I'll see how I can upload them on my page. Our special appeal is to the head of state, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema. You promised a dignified funeral. Please live through it. So far, so good, Mr. President. Although you spoke very late after 7 days, but you came and provided leadership. You signed the book of condolences. You came to Belvedere. You sent a high-powered delegation team to negotiate, and they've negotiated. The family have accepted. As head of state, you superintend over the funeral, and tomorrow, all of us will have a privilege to see you receive the remains and the casket of your late president. But as usual, your men underneath keep on insulting us. They keep on insulting the memory of the late president. They keep on scandalizing those, like the family of the late president. I think it's not decency. If there's anything being done untoward, if there's any institution I know that has facts and infrastructure, it is a state. The state can even come in your bedroom without your knowledge. So they should stop this propaganda. Where they made Simon Mwewa make a special broadcast last night to lie about the remains of the late president that will be transported in his aircraft. President Lungu will be in an Embraer aircraft E190 tomorrow, and it will carry the families led by the First Lady and all those that are currently in South Africa. So it's not a small plane like that of Howden. Finlay is quite a large body aircraft that will bring the remains of the late president.
Our burden. We will. Number one, that the body of the late President Lungu shall be transported together with the family from Lanseria Airport in South Africa to Zambia on Wednesday, 18th June 2025, using a private charter made available to the family by well wishers. Secondly, that following the arrival and receipt of the body by family members in Lusaka, full military honors will be conducted at the Kenneth Kaunda International Airport, after which the body shall be taken to the funeral house in Chifwema, where it will lie instead. Thirdly, that the body of the late former president will be taken to Mulungushi International Conference Center on Thursday 19th June, Friday 20th June, and Saturday 21st June to enable members of the public to pay their last respects from 09 hours to 16 hours, after which it shall be returned on all days to the funeral house in Chifwema to lie instead. That the state funeral that will host foreign dignitaries shall be held at Mulungushi Conference Center on Sunday 22nd June, and the body of former President Lungu shall be taken to the venue and returned to Chifwema after the event, where it will lie instead. That a valedictory session will be held at the Supreme Court grounds in honor of former President Lungu, a lawyer by profession, on Monday 23rd June, to be followed by a church service on the same day in the showgrounds in Lusaka, one that would be conducted by His Grace Archbishop Alec Banda. That the body of the late former president shall always lie instead at the funeral house in Chifwema and only be taken away for the above stated functions during the day, after which it shall be returned to the funeral house every day to lie instead at the conclusion of these events. That the body of the late president shall always be accompanied by a relative, the aide de camp, and the former president's personal physician. That the period of national mourning shall be extended, and that the two parties shall always consult and agree on who speaks at all events. And further, to avoid the confusion that has been ongoing relating to the Patriotic Front Party, that Honorable Given Lubinda will speak on behalf of the Patriotic Front Party. It is important to emphasize that the family is proceeding based on the guarantees given by the government of the Republic of Zambia that they will not deviate from our agreement or betray the trust of the family and the wishes of the former president. The family hopes that this outcome will bring this matter to a close and avoid further trauma to the family and millions of affected ordinary Zambians. We wish to express our heartfelt gratitude to the Zambian people at home and away who gave the late former president their love, both in life and in death. Your outpouring of love has strengthened us and lightened our burden. We would
Many times, whenever we gathered for prayer, he would have his clasped hands like this, either at State House or wherever else. So he loved